there, Jan here. I'm just going to show you today how to make this stationery set because I think a lot of people quite liked it. It's quite detailed. It holds a writing pad, 12 envelopes, some place for your pens and pencils, some place for your stamps, a phone holder here which I can't show you because I'm actually using it at the moment, obviously, haha. A notepad, a stick-it post-its notes holder, and a calendar, and this is the lid. So yeah, this is what I'd like to show you today. Now I did post up some of the sizes and measurements if you want to do a cut list to start with, but I'm also going to do it as we go along through making this stationery box. So let's get started. I've done quite a lot of it to start with because it's very, very simple to do, and you know, it's quite repetitive, so I've done as much as I can to try and keep the video as short as possible. So let's start off with the back and front in this case. Now the paper I've used is from a paper pad called Mumby. Don't know if you can see that. They're 12 by 12 sheets. I like them, think it's very bright and breezy and that. And I used in total, I've got quite a few bits over, but I used in total 2 12 by 12 sheets of this paper, 2 of this one for the inside, and 1 of the pink ones, which is this one. Hold on, let me get a little scrap of it for you. Hang on. This one here for the lid, just to make it nice and bright and breezy. So it doesn't actually take up an awful lot of paper. It takes a fair bit of cardstock, and I used A3 size to be able to get the, you know, the widths and that I want. If you haven't got A3, you could try joining it, which will be fine. We have to join the back and front anyway because you can't cut it out of one single sheet. Right, let me just check periodically that my camera is still working. Yep, seems to be. Okay, fingers crossed. So first of all, we're going to look at doing the back. That's the simplest part. That's this bit here. These are the measurements that you're going to need, so please, you know, obviously feel free to stop the video and double check them out. But basically, the piece that we're going to need, the piece of cardstock you're going to need, is measured at 10 inches all the way down from here to here by 8 3/4 inches across here to here, and you're going to score that, put it on your scoreboard and score it down here at 1 inch, then turn it round, score it at 2 inches, turn it round once more and score it at 1 inch. So you have along the side that is 10 inches down, you're going to have two lots here that have scored in for 1 inch, and a flap at the bottom that's 2 inches. Okay, now to make things a lot easier, and you can do exactly the same obviously, I've given the design paper sizes. Now I'm going to use this as the inside and this is the outside. You need 4 sheets of paper to do the inside and outside if you want to do them the same. And the other thing is, on the measurements that I've given you, I've put arrows going up and down, which means that if, like me, you're using a directional paper, so it can only go one way or the other, where you see this sign here, the up and down arrow, means that you need to have the pattern going this way, and where you see the arrow going across, it means that you have to have your pattern going acrossways. Okay, so the design paper you're going to need for this then is 7 7/8 by 6 5/8, and you need to cut 2, so you need 1 in your main paper for the outside and 1 in your paper for the inside. Right, so you can see I've stuck mine down. Now, another thing I like to do, this is quite thick cardstock that I'm using for the base of my stationery box, and I like to score it so that on the right side is the mountain. I don't know if you can see that, but the reason I like that is because when it's all folded up, it gives you a really nice crisp edge here, and also when I'm sticking my paper down, it gives you, you know, guidelines of where to stick your paper to. Right, okay, so you need 2 of those, so you stick one on this side and one on this side. You're then going to need 2 pieces that are again 7 7/8, the same length, but this time only 7/8 of an inch, so you need 4 of those. You need 2 for the inside and 2 for the outside. Okay, you're also going to need 2 pieces that are 6 5/8 widthways by 1 7/8, but don't stick them down yet. Now the other thing is that you can use 12 small magnets on this. They're optional. I'm not going to use them on this one because basically, in truth, I forgot to stick them on before I stuck the paper down. But you don't have to use them, but you can use them if you want to. It just helps it to stick around, sort of, you know, hold it all together, but it's not essential in any sense. Right, okay, so when you've got your paper stuck down, you just need to do your burnishing. So fold your pieces up, give them a good burnishing, like that, like that. You find that the addition of the 2 layers of paper will make this quite a sturdy box. Because I've not used an incredibly strong cardstock, but once the paper goes on it, you know, you then effectively got 3 layers. Right, okay, so that's basically all you have to do with the back of the box, and that will be the bit that stands like that. Okay, so let's put that aside because that one's finished, and you just put it aside for the moment. We don't need that for a little while. The next piece we're going to do is the front. Now, the front, I don't know if I can get it all in camera actually, is much bigger. And the only way I could do this was lengthways on a piece of A3, so I kind of cut it out this way round. But you can actually join it. You could make it so that you have this centerpiece here and then join these pieces here, so make separate pieces and then stick them to this with a 1/2 inch overlap, because they're going to be covered with paper anyway. So again, this is the outside and this is my inside. They look different, and I'll show you why in a moment. So the first thing is the overall size of the paper, of the cardstock that you're going to need, is 13 3/4 going across this way here, by 10 inches from here all the way down to here. Now ignore this piece here for the moment. On the diagram you'll see that I've shaded in some areas, and that means these are to be cut out. So I've already cut one out. I need to cut this one out now, which I will do sort of straight away, and then we'll talk about the design paper and where we need to stick that. So when you're doing the cutting out on all of these, if you're cutting out this one here, you want to cut off the score line. So if you turn it over, you can see that there's a, I hope you can see it, I'll wiggle it about a bit, that there's a mountain score fold here. Well, on this side of it, so if you have it this way round, we want to cut that off. So you cut to the left of it. Okay? But when you get up to this part here, I like to keep it on because it gives you, you know, a base, a nice outline to the box. But again, it's up to you. I mean, you can cut straight up the middle and that's absolutely fine. This is just my preference. So I like to, you know, try and keep that score line in if I can. Sometimes you just can't, it's just not possible. Okay, so let's keep going. Go across there. That's rubbish, we don't need that piece. Okay, so that's both those pieces cut out, and you should end up with a shape that's like that. Now on here, on the back here, you're going to cut your designer paper, again directionally going this way. So it is 7 7/8 going this way by 6 5/8, and you need two pieces of that. One that goes here and the different one that goes here. Okay, that's the outside and the inside. You then need 4 pieces that are 7 7/8 by 1 7/8, and they are going to go, so you need 2, hold on, let's move those scissors and use my tweezers instead. So you need 2 that go on these outside edges on the back, that's the outside edges, and then you need 2 that are going to go on the inside. And then you're also going to need 4 pieces that are 7 7/8 by 1 3/8, and they're going to go, they're going to go on the outside, the other pieces are going on the inside. So let's start as if we have the cardstock without anything stuck down first. So on the wrong side, if you like these little edge pieces like I do, on the wrong side you have your piece of cardstock here, and you're going to score this down first of all at 1.5 inches. My scoreboard, let me show you, my scoreboard goes with the numbers from, I hope you can see this, I hope it's in frame. My scoreboard goes with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 backwards. It doesn't matter which way round it goes actually, but so that's why I'm talking about it this way. So you're going to start with the wrong side facing you, and you're going to score at 1.5 inches down this line here. You're then going to score at 3.5 inches down here. Don't forget you might be doing it this way, 1.5 and 3.5. You're then going to turn it on its side here, and you'll find that actually, let me move this up a bit as well to show you that it's longer than the actual board. So what you do is you score down as far as you can, and then you move it across. I'll show you in a moment. So once you've turned it this way, so you have your 1.5 and your 3.5 here. You turn it this way, and you're going to score down here at 2 inches. Okay, now like I say, you can't go all the way down, so you score as far as you can, and then basically bump your paper over until it fits into one of the grooves, and you'll feel it when it catches in a groove and it won't move, like that, there. So that piece there is fitting in the groove, and you just continue on down with your scoring. Okay, and then you turn it again so that you have your 2-inch piece going across here, and you score on this side at 1.5 down there, and again at 3.5 down here. Okay, so what you should end up with is a piece like this. You're going to cut out these corners, and you have a piece like this that has 1.5 and 2-inch, and then the bit in the middle. Okay, now on this one here, I've stuck my designer papers down here and here, and on the back, and you need to, so you have the inside of your piece of work showing, and on the inside, this 2-inch flap that you're left with once you've cut these bits out, you want to cover that with score tape. Okay, you can use wet glue, it takes ages to dry, but I'm using score tape for this because this is how we're going to join the front to the back. Now I'm not putting these two pieces on just at the moment because I have actually put my magnets under here. So if you're going to use magnets, the chief reason for using the magnets is that when this box, this is going to be the front, when this box lays open on your desk, this takes up a lot of room. So I tend to fold these flaps into themselves and it just takes up less room. If I had remembered, I would have put the magnets, corresponding magnets on the back as well, so that it would have just, you know, clipped shut nicely, but I didn't, so it doesn't matter too much. Right, okay, so let's move this scoreboard out of the way. And now I'm going to score my lines. So this is the inside. We're going to fold these to the inside, score them nicely, score that one, score this one. You don't have to have overkill, it's fine, because you want it to retain a box shape and be quite firm and sturdy. So as long as it's going to bend, that is absolutely fine. Now, like I say, the reason I didn't put my paper here is because I'm going to put corresponding magnets on first. So let me get that bit done. I just want to again double check that my camera's still filming. Yep, that's fine. Right, okay, now the reason I put two magnets on here is because yet again I've ended up with sort of the wrong magnets. So the ones I've got are not that sturdy. You could, if you have really good magnets, just put one each in the middle. But like I say, I'm afraid I don't. So let's put this away. Let's put some score tape down. Not that one. I want this one. So I have two magnets. I've put one here, one under here, and one there. And I'm just going to slip a bit of double-sided tape under them. Not too big a piece. Take off a magnet. Try to take off a magnet, that is. Okay, right, I can feel it about there, so I'm going to put this down here. Here. And just drop my magnet on. And that will tell me where it's going to go. And the same with the top. So that's there. Oops, find a magnet first. Right, that's not in the right place where I want that, so it's a bit on the old fiddly side, especially trying to do it at sort of arm's length. Please. Right, lovely, that's there. Perfect. So now I'm going to fold this over and that will stick the magnets down in the right place. She says that there's one. This one didn't want to stick. There we go, there's the other one. Brilliant, and then we're going to cover those with designer paper. So let's get the ones done for the other side. That's 1, 2. we go. Right, so that magnet is about there. I'll stick that down there. There we go, and this magnet here is about here. And we'll stick that down there. That's it. And then, like before, just fold it over and hopefully they'll behave themselves and stick themselves down. Yeah, lovely. Right, so all that remains there now is to stick the pieces of designer paper on. So let's turn that round so I can access it a little bit easier. That's the measurements bit in case you want to keep seeing it. I don't know if it's in focus. Right, now when I cut my pieces out, I also marked them so that, you know, because it's very easy to get them mixed up. So this is the side, and I seem to be missing a side. What is that? That's stars. Don't know what I've done with that piece. Oh, there's nothing here. That's it there. Sorry, I left it over there. So these are the two pieces that are going to go on here. And these pieces here I've marked as the bottom outside and the bottom inside. So they're the two pieces that you're going to cut that are 7 7/8 by 1 7/8. Sorry, 6 5/8 by 1 7/8. But you're not going to use them at the moment. We're not going to stick them down. So let's get this stuck down. Hopefully my glue is not going to play up. It's been playing up for the last few days actually. So right, let's get these pieces of tape off of here. One and just the way, isn't it? There we go. Okay, so some glue on here. Just going to line this up. Now, if you are a little bit unsure about your cutting, you may not have done it quite straight or quite to size, always line up the top first, because no one's going to look at the bottom. So this is actually the bottom because that's the base of the paper. So I'm making sure that it lines up here, and I'll worry about that bit down there because it's going to be covered by the little boxes, and then you just burnish that down. We're going to do the same for the other side. Those are the bottoms. There it is. Just push this tape down. Push it down here. I'm hoping the light holds out, because at this point time in year there's such a short window when you can do filming. If, like I am, your main source of light is the window. I have, you know, a central ceiling light, but sometimes it makes things worse rather than better. So I'm just going to try and get this done as quickly as I can for you. Hopefully we're not going to make it into 2 videos. Right, again, so I'm making sure it lines up down here. Hopefully it will line up there as well, but if it doesn't, then all is not lost because it lines up here. And if you see what I mean about leaving these mountains and valleys, it gives you a little line to put your paper up against, which gives it a nice edge, I think, and also really, really helpful. So that's your inside and outside for the front and back of the box completed. So what we need to do now, let's move this out of the way, is where we put this tape, we're now going to join the two pieces together. Like I say, this little box is so simple to construct. It really is. So what's going to happen is that we're going to stick these two pieces overlapping here. Okay, so this will be the front of your box. Sorry, this will be the front of your box. This is the back of your box. But these two pieces are going to overlap with this tape that we have here. So let's get this peeled off. Gosh, good tape. Doesn't want to release the backing at all. Right, now sometimes on here I will also squirt a little bit of glue because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room while you try to line it up, and also it goes to make it sturdier as well. You don't need much, you just need a little bit to make it slide a bit. I mean, you don't have to, it's just that for me I've got a bit of shaky hands, so I do tend to do it. There we go. Right, so now you overlap these two pieces, take it right up to but not over that score line that you did. Just touch it down gently and make sure that this will actually come up because it's not gone over the score line. It does perfectly. That's fine, so we can now give that a good burnish. Front, oh sorry, back and front. Perfect. Right, and now all that needs to be done is to stick these bits of paper down. So we have this one is the outside. Let's get that glued. There we go. Fits perfectly. Bit of varnish. Turn it over. Actually, no, I'm wrong. We don't do the inside. We don't do the inside yet. I've already started to glue this, so please don't do what I'm going to do. Just don't glue it down at all, but I don't want to waste that. So what I'm going to do is I've just glued that tiny little bit, less than a third, and I'm just going to put it there because we need to slip something under here before we stick this down. So rather than kind of ruin it or waste it. I am just going to stick that piece down, but I'm not sticking all of this down as well, but preferably don't stick it down at all. Okay, so now let's make sure that this comes up, which it does. That comes up, and what's going to happen is this is the front of your box, and this is going to wrap around the back like this. Now I don't know if you can see, but that's what I meant by I would have liked to have put magnets down. I've got magnets in here, but I would have liked to have put magnets down here as well, but I just totally forgot to do that, so that it all snaps together. But it's not important, because once the lid goes on, the lid will hold it all together. But when it's open on your desk, this bit stands up. It's nice to be able to fold these pieces away and keep them folded out of the way, as it will do when I've burnished it a bit more. But yeah, it just makes a little bit neater design, because this is going to then stand up with all the boxes inside it. Right, so let's put this up out of the way for the moment while we make the lid that holds the whole thing together. It's a bit like you know, like an IKEA construction thing, in that, you know, it doesn't come together until the very last piece is in place. Well, this is exactly the same. Excuse me while I just have a drink of my hot chocolate. I'm very thirsty. So this is the lid. These are the pieces, these are the proportions that you're going to need. You start with a piece of the same cardstock, and it is going to be 11.5 inches wide by 6 3/4 inches long. Okay, and you're going to score it at 2 1/4 inches all the way round. So you put it on your scoreboard, score it at 2 1/4 inches. Hold on, I'm sure you know what I mean, but I'll just do it the last time just to show, just to double check. So you put it on your scoreboard. You'll see that I've cut pieces out of this, but you put it on your scoreboard, you score at 2 1/4 inches. Sorry, put it the wrong way round. You score at 2 1/4 inches all the way down, turn it around, 2 1/4 inches, turn it around, 2 1/4, turn it for the last time, 2 1/4. Okay, and that leaves you with a thin gap that goes in the middle. Right, okay, so following that, what you're going to do is you're going to make some cuts. So having the piece of card with its score lines on it facing you, you need to cut up these lines here, and then cut diagonally down here, and what you end up with is a kind of almost a bit like a Christmas cracker. Then you cut up this one and go diagonally here, turn it round and repeat. Cut up this line, go diagonally round. So the bits you cut up, the lines you cut up, are along the longest edge, not the shortest edge. Okay, so this is the last one to do. So I'm going to cut up this one here from the longest edge, cut all the way up till it meets the score line going across, and then I'm going to go from the outside edge here and cut diagonally across until I meet that cut there on all four sides, so you end up with that. Okay, now one thing to note about this is why I put directional. When you come to stick your paper, if it is directional, as mine is, you need to do it in a certain way, otherwise some of it will be upside down. So let me just get the measurements, which I've conveniently just dropped on the floor. Hold on. So the measurements for the design paper for this are to cut 3 pieces that are 6 3/4 by 2 3/16. Now, if you've got any sort of concerns about 16ths, when you look at your ruler, I'm just going to show you on a 6-inch ruler here. Let's move this out of the way. When you look at your ruler, you'll see that it's divided into, say, take this inch here. It's divided, this is the 1/2 inch, which you know. Then there's 2 shorter ones, which are the 1/4 inches. And then there are 2 slightly shorter, and they're 4 slightly shorter, and they're the 1/8 of an inch. Well, the one that's in between it, the tiny little line here, these are 16ths. Okay, so this is 3/16. So you're going to want to go past the number that you want, which is 2 3/16. So you go 2 and 1, 2, 3/16. Okay. Right, so you're going to need 3 of those pieces that are 6 3/4 by 2 3/16, and you're going to need 2 pieces which are 2 3/16 square, so it doesn't matter which way round you cut them. Okay, so right, so now when you stick them down, you stick them onto your card here, make sure that you have the top one can go any way you want, because the front and back of this are exactly the same. So if you decide that the wording is going to, or your pattern is going to run in this direction, which mine is, if you can see, it says bright. Let me turn it round. So it says brightest here. Then the front of your lid needs to go the same direction, but the back of your lid needs to go in the opposite direction. Okay, because otherwise when you come to put it on, it will be upside down. And the same with these 2 sides here. These 2 need to go in this direction. This one this way, and this one this way. Otherwise, when you fold them down, they're not going to be looking square, they're going to be going the wrong way. So just be really mindful of that when you do this. Now, this is, again, simplicity itself. Once you've scored it, you've stuck down your designer papers, you turn it over, but burnish along all of your score lines, making sure that you keep them straight and in line. You burnish these along here. I'm burnishing quite firmly because this is a thick cardstock that I'm using. Well, it's quite a, no, it's not exactly thick, it's just very strong. I think it's plastic coated. I love it, whatever it is, I absolutely love it. And don't forget to burnish these side pieces as well. Make sure that you get them to line up along that edge. Burnish from your centre out. So you get it to line up across that edge, line up across the back edge here, burnish from the centre out. The same with these, line it up across the centre so it lines up with this outside edge, burnish, burnish, and the last one, line up with that outside edge, burnish and burnish. Now, this is where you may find some of those, you know, those little clip things, these things might come in really handy. Got quite a few of them. Now I'm going to use wet glue here because for me I find that wet glue is sturdier. Sometimes you can't use it in this project because it's just too fiddly, and sometimes, you know, you can. The other thing, if you want to use a tape on here, then I would recommend that you use red line tape because it's the strongest of all the tapes. Now basically when you put this together, it's going to fold down like that, and these edges are going to tuck inside. That gives you a nice sturdy little box lid. like that. Okay, and you have to make sure that these pieces here line up perfectly with those outside edges. We don't need to cover the inside of this box, make it decorative or anything, and actually I probably would suggest against it, because when you're forever putting lid on and off, it catches. It's only got to catch a little tiny bit and that's it, it's ruined it. So you're much better off not, you know, not even bothering with that. So let's get these glued down, get them glued down nice and firmly, and then we're going to put the box clips on just to hold it. That's one. Make sure that it lines up perfectly along the top and that you get a very nice neat edge here, if you see what I'm doing here. And then once you've squeezed it a bit, you just put a couple of these little clips on, or pegs if you've got pegs, just to hold it there. You know, you don't need to rush this part at all. We'll do this side here now. Move that out of the way. Some glue. Flip that up. Making sure that you've got a completely straight edge, nice and neat here, and perfectly straight along the top. Pinch it together and put your box clips on. And just repeat on the other end. And this basically is the thing that holds the whole box together. I think I'll probably do this side as well at the same time. Just makes it a lot easier. There we go. Make that nice and straight. Completely straight. A nice square edge there. You do have some wiggle room with wet glues, which is why they're so useful. There we go. Make that nice and neat. And the same with this one. Across here. Nice, perfectly straight edge to this. Right, and we'll just set that aside for a few moments to dry. Just going to take my cardigan off, I'm a bit warm at the moment. Central heating's just come on. Right, so the first thing we're going to work on, which will help with the stability of this box, is the back pocket, which is for the writing pad. Now this takes a standard size writing pad, which in your, I'll show you the additional requirements. You're going to need a writing pad that is 7 3/4 by 5 3/4, which is a standard size letter writing pad. Actually, in the other album, I made my own because I couldn't find a writing pad. Seems that nowhere had any. And all I did was I cut down an exercise book to those dimensions, and then I pinched it together with those clips. I'll show you a bit when I get to the end of it, and just ran a lot of that glue and smeared it all in, and that kind of sticks it into a pad shape. But I'll show you when we get to that bit at the end. Right, okay, now this is the basic principle that all of the boxes that are on the back are made to. The ones that are on the front are made differently. So you're going to start with a piece of cardstock which is 7 inches down this way by 8 3/4 inches across, and you're going to score on 3 sides. You're going to score at 1/2 inch and again at 1/2 inch, so that if you have the piece of card in front of you and this is the short edge, the 7 inch size, you will have score lines here at 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and on one of the longer edges you'll have 2 1/2 inch score lines along here. Okay, so now what you need to do then is on the wrong side, the back side of this, oh sorry, first of all we will do the designer series paper. So as you can see, I've chosen a different designer paper now so that it looks pretty on the inside. So I'm concentrating on black and pink for this, which I think go together really well. So the first piece of designer paper you're going to need is 5 7/8 with the pattern going this way, and for me it's important because I've got the words happy going across it, by 6 5/8 with the paper going that way. So 5 7/8, 6 5/8, you cut one and stick it down. Okay, you're also going to need pieces that are 5 7/8 by 3/8, and basically that's to cover up the score lines. And where you stick them, this is the front of the pocket, so you need 2 on here, and then you turn it over and you stick the other 2 on each side here. So the back has got 2 pieces each side and the front has got 1 piece each side. On the outside edge of this front part here, you're going to put score tape, and also on the bottom 2 edges here you're going to put score tape. Okay, now if you turn it over, you need to be able to measure the distance between here, the inside edge here, and the inside edge here, and mark the center. And where that center comes, you're then going to want a punch which is approximately 2 inches, or you can use a die if you want to, obviously. This just makes it nice and neat and tidies it up. And you're going to center this up, put your punch in here, bring it down almost to the halfway mark, not completely to the halfway mark, but almost. And sorry, I'm going to need to look at this in this direction. There we go, it's lined up. It's going to make the camera jump, I'm afraid, when I do this. It always does, because it's so... Gosh, you have to be strong to do that. But anyway, it's cut that finger loop out. You don't need that, you can get rid of that bit. Right, so now we end up with this, and again we're going to fold along our score lines, fold them all to the inside and burnish. Across the bottom, ease that up, burnish and burnish. So how we do this one will show you pretty much how we're going to do all of the ones that go along the back, and you'll see why this is such a simple project to do. So now I know what this is. Again, I've marked it. Now I know what this is. I can rub that out. We don't need to cover the inside because it's not possible to see it from any angle. Where things are like these, the reason I've covered these is because when you stick these round, you can actually see that back bit. So that's why I've put pieces on the inside like that. And you don't have to if you don't want to, but I just think it looks a lot better. Right, now then, we need to lose this corner square, this one here, and I'm going to cut off all the score lines on this one here, and we need to do the same here, cut off all the score lines on this one here. Get rid of those, they're rubbish. And how this is going to fold up is that's going to go round the back, this is going to come over here, and this is going to wrap around it. So the other cut that we need to make is here, up this bottom bit here, and up this piece here. So again, as you can see, it's going to come round here like this. This is going to go inside for some stability. That's going inside. That's going in there. Now let me just double check, because one of these needs to be cut in half. So that's going up there. Round there, like that, and it is the bottom one, the bottom two that need to be cut off. I always have to double check it because I can never remember. There we go, the bottom two need to be cut off, and this one here needs to be cut in half. Okay. I'll cut into the centre, cut into the centre, like that. Right, so you'll end up with this shape, and these are loose, like this. So we just need to fold this around, tuck these corners inside like this, fold that around there, and release a little bit of this tape here. Actually, I think I'll put a dab of glue on these as well, so let's just put a little dab of glue on them. Just to hold them in place. School run time at the moment, so you'll hear a lot of traffic, possibly a lot of children, and hopefully my dogs won't go psycho. If they do, I'll shut the door and keep them out. Good grief. Right, okay, so we need to fold this up here like this, fold that around there. Use a pokey tool or something to push that flap against the wall. Can you see that? It's against the wall there. I hope you can see that okay. And then we just release a little bit of this tape on the corner here. To stick this down. Making sure it's nice and square. You have a nice neat corner. Sorry if my head gets in the way. Put your pokey tool or some other thing in there like that, just to hold it there for a second or two. Stick that tape back down, do the same this side, and then I'll show you. Oh, my tummy's rumbling. I don't know if you can hear it. So just push that out of the way. Push this all the way round to make a nice, neat square here. Let's pick that up so it's nice and neat in that corner. Okay, that's sticking down there. And use your tool or maybe a bone folder if you want to just hold that square in there. That just gives it that extra little bit of stability. There we go. Push that down there. Make sure this one's staying there where I've put it. Now, effectively what you have is a, you know, like a three-sided box with two little bits for the back, and you have already got your tape here, here and on the bottom. Let me just hold this together for a moment or two longer. There we go. It's just a case of manipulating it a bit. If that dog starts barking, he's going straight outside. Right, okay, so now we have this, and that effectively is the pocket that holds the pad. Now, while I'm at it, I'm just going to have a quick look and see if this lid is dry. I'll show you how the thing goes together. Yeah, it seems to be dry. Chuck all these bits in here. Hopefully my camera's still working. Yep, jolly good. So this is, we have the box here. We're going to wrap this around. Don't forget, all of this inside then will be held rigid by all of the pieces that go in it. And then the lid simply fits on the top and holds the whole thing together. That's what the back of it looks like. Obviously a lot neater when it's full of stuff. And that's what the front looks like. Okay, so like I say, it's an IKEA box. Right, so I can put that together out of the way for the moment, because we don't need that for a while. So this is the writing pad pocket. The next thing is to make the writing pad backing. And like I say, when you have a pad that you've either bought or you've made one, and I can show you if I can find the other box. Oh, here it is. So this is the other box. I don't know if you remember this one. But this is the writing pad that I made, simply because at the time I couldn't find one to buy, so that you can see that this fits in here perfectly. It fits in there really nicely. And all I did was cut sheets of paper to the right size. Excuse me while I shut the dogs out. It's not going to drown them out completely, but it should dull it a bit. I guess they're just doing their job. So basically I cut sheets of paper to the thickness that I wanted, the size that I wanted, and then I held them together very, very tightly all the way along with these clips, and I placed sort of one clip, then the next, all the way along like that. And then I used my wet glue, and I kind of quite liberally sprinkled it along here, and then used my finger to rub it in, and I left it until it was dry, and it forms a pad that you can just rip a sheet off of when you want to. Okay, so if you can't find a writing pad, make one. Now, therefore what we need to do, if you either buy one, or if like me you're going to make one, you're going to need a back piece here, which is quite solid cardstock, and for this one here I've used some spare chipboard that I have, and that's cut to 8 inches by 6 inches. You only need one of those. And then you need some designer paper, which is cut to 8.5 inches by 6 inches, and you need to score it along the top here at 1/2 inch and then at 3/4 inch. Okay, because you're going to fold this piece under here to stick to the back of this, and then you need 1/4 inch gusset for the thickness of the pad. Or obviously if you want to put 1/2 inch pad, it will hold 1/2 inch pad in there very easily. If you want to put 1/2 inch pad, what I was thinking of doing actually was making some note cards, so that I've got a selection of note cards and writing paper to send to people if I want to. You're also going to need a piece of the same designer paper, which is 7 inches by 1/4 inch. Okay, and what we're going to do, so that we don't have to keep throwing the designer paper away each time, is this one I've done differently, but I will do it because I've stuck my papers down to the back piece of card. I've stuck it down like that. But if you want to buy a pad, then you need to make like a band inside that you can hook the pad over, and then when you finish with the pad you unhook it, throw it away and replace it with the new one. That's one way of doing it. If not, if you want to just do it the way I've done it, all I've done here is, as I say, I run a piece of tape here. I sacrificed the last page and stuck that down here. It's loose at the bottom, and then just left the top of the pad to loosely cover it. Either works just as well. But anyway, I thought I'd show you this way. So we have your backing piece of paper. Let's move this. We have your designer paper, which I've noticed has got a little piece that needs trimming off there. And we're going to fold along the score line. So the first one is your 1/2 inch score line. That folds along there. Let's get that burnished. And your next one is your 1/4 inch line. Fold that down. It's a bit fiddly when you've got a 1/4 inch one, but it does go. Just gently use your bone folder, because don't forget this is paper, not card, and it might crack. Okay, now with your 7 inch piece that's 1/4 inch wide, in order to make the belly band piece, you need to stick it onto the back. So you start with one end and you stick it outwards, okay, so that it goes out there. Then you fold it back on itself, find the place where it's the end here and fold that under, and then we're going to stick that down there, and that gives you a belly band then that you can slip your pad inside. You know, so if it was like that, you slip your pad inside and it hangs over like that, so you can change your pad whenever you want to. Right, so now I don't have a pad, I'm afraid, to slip in here to show you how this works, because I'm going to, later on, I'm going to make another one. I've got lots and lots of that spare paper. So I'm going to do that. But anyway, that's the principle of it. Hold that down for a moment. Just run some glue along this edge here, or a piece of 1/4 inch score tape if you want to. And stick that so that it overlaps your piece of backing card. So it's like this. And then just burnish that until it's kind of dry. And that will be your pad. Push that up to there, and your pad will fit inside there. Okay, and that's what's going to fit inside your pad pocket, which will be like that. And like I say, it's quite deep enough to take a thicker pad, a pad twice as thick as this, or what I'm going to do, which is some note-lit cards as well, although I won't do those on the tutorial, I'll do those in a separate one, because this I have adapted from my original one, which held note cards and envelopes and stamps and things. People have asked for a tutorial for that one as well, which I'll also do, but I thought I'd start with this one first because it's the more difficult of the two, and it kind of will set you up to do the other one. Now all the other boxes along the back, as I say, are a simple variation of this. So let's do the next one, which is your envelope pocket. And this sits to the left of the box. So here we go. We're going to need a piece of cardstock that measures 6 by 6 3/4. Okay. And you're going to put it on your scoreboard, and you're going to score again exactly the same as we did before. 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, turn it, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Okay, you don't need any score lines along this top edge because this is where we're going to cut that circle out, and I'll do that in a moment. So your design paper that you're going to want is 4 7/8 going this way up and down, by 4 5/8 going this way. If you've chosen a designer paper that doesn't matter which way round it goes, then obviously that's fine. That's wonderful. I just chose this one mainly to show you how to do it actually. So you need to cut one piece like that and stick it onto the front. You then need 5 pieces, which are 4 7/8 by 3/8 of an inch. Okay, now this, as I say, is very simple, but you really must pay attention to what you're doing, because if you make, you could easily make a mistake with this. Now this is going to be the side, the left side of the box, so we're going to be able to see this left side edge, but we're not going to see the right side edge because it will butt up against the pen holder. So we don't need to cover that side. Okay, so you need to put one of your pieces of 4 7/8 by 3/8 down this first section here, and a piece of tape down the outside one. On the other side you need to put piece of tape, and on the bottom piece of tape, not all the way along. Okay, and then you cut in the same way that we did last time, which was you take out these 2 bottom squares here and here. You take out this outside square here, but you cut it all the way onto the inside there. So you're kind of taking out an L shape, but you're still cutting all the way to there. We're going to do the matching piece here, so cut out this, cut out this, cut all the way along here, and cut this one off. There we go. Okay, I hope you were able to see that. Then you turn over your piece of card and you put your final 4 thin strips down these little gusset pieces here. Okay, and then you start to fold it up and burnish it. Make sure everything folds up into a straight line. Fold these across and make sure that they're nice and straight. This one and this one. You'll see how easily and quickly the boxes are made up, and then it's just about bringing it all together. Fold up and burnish this line. Make sure it is straight and lined up, and that your fold lines here, your score lines here, match with the score lines here. Okay, because you don't want your boxes to be kind of out of true, really. The same with this. When you fold this up, make sure that the top edges match. Score that down. Gosh, I hope you can't hear my stomach rumbling. And the same with this one. If it looks like proving difficult, then score from the centre out to the edges. The same here. Fold it over. Centre out. And here. And this one. Centre out. And then, just as we did before, we need to fold this up by tucking these pieces inside and sticking this down. Actually, what you can do to make this a lot easier is to just mitre these pieces here. Just take off a tiny sliver. You don't have to take off much. It just makes it a little bit easier. Just a really tiny piece here and here. Tiny sliver. I mean, you can see what I'm taking off. Look, it's minute. Oops. Right, so we fold this up, tuck all the edges in and stick this back down as we did before. Make sure that your flap goes to the inside and it doesn't sort of get itself caught on the outside like that, because otherwise you'll be able to see it. So it's got to go to the inside. So we'll put a little bit of glue on those two flaps. This one and this one. Fold them to the inside, bring that around. Let's just remove this little bit of tape on this corner for a moment. Put that there, making sure that this fits around nicely to make a nice tight square, like that. Hope you can see that. Just hold it there for a moment or two. While you're holding it there, use something to push that flap down inside, because that's what gives it the rigidity. There. And the same with this side. Score tape away a bit, make that into a nice tight corner that wraps around really well, like that. While you're holding it there, oops, that's not lined up properly, there we go, that's better. While you're holding it there, push that flap against the wall of it. So I hope you can see that. And then use something just to burnish it until it really grabs. Okay, And then put that tape back. Now, as with the other one, I'm going to take this away to another shelf space here. But as with the other one that we did, we again need to find the centre of this, line it up with this, the same size, and cut your sort of peep hole, your finger hole bit. So I'm just going to line this up out of the way of the camera. And do it over here, otherwise it makes everything shake. Oh gosh, you have to be strong for that. Okay, that's your envelope pouch done. That's that. Put that out of the way. We're now going to do the pen holder, and again this is exactly the same, but it is the last of these that are the same as this. So you need to start off with a piece of cardstock which measures 6 inches by 3.5 inches. Then again on all 3 sides, but not the top side here, you're going to score down at 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Okay, and in this one here you're going to need to punch a 1 inch diameter circle or die cut it. Let me just find my 1 inch diameter, which of course is nowhere to be found. And a nice heart shape. Can't find the 1 inch, so I'm actually going to use a 5/8 of an inch just to show you how to do it, and then later on when I've stuck it in I'll increase the size to the 1 inch. Right, now then, on this one is pretty much exactly the same as the other one. I haven't put the score tape on this yet, very remiss of me, but you're going to need on the front, the piece of design paper is going to be 4 7/8 by 1 3/8, and then you need to stick that down in the middle, and you need a 4 7/8 by 3/8, and you need 5 of those as well, one of which you're going to stick down this first section here. You don't need anything else on these because these are going to be tape. Then when you turn it over, you stick the remaining 4 down here. You don't need anything on here because you won't be able to see it. Okay, so I'm going to punch this hole, although this is much smaller than I would actually like it to be. It's just that I don't have to hand my other punch, but I'll do it when I put the box together. This part here is as much for continuity, you know, to seeing how, making sure it looks nice as it is anything else. So firstly we're going to cut out those sections on the bottom that we don't need, which is, let me mark it with a pen in case you didn't notice it too easily before. We're going to take out these pieces here, these 2 squares here, and we're going to take out this square here. But we're going to cut all the way along this, and we're going to do the opposite on this side. So we're going to take out these squares here and this square, but we're going to cut along here, so hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to cut to the inside. I want to cut off all of the score lines. I don't want any of those bumpy lines on here. Cut off all of the score lines, cut this here, cut this one in half, and very slightly miter the edges. 1, 2, cut out all the way across. Cut this off. Cut this off. And right to the edges. Now, as I say, the ones in the front are somewhat different to this. Right, let's move that rubbish out of the way. We don't need any of that. Okay, got a score, a bit of burnishing to do. Trusty acrylic block. Hope this isn't going on too long for you. I have no way of telling when I'm filming on my phone, because that is my clock as well. Two pieces of tape on here. One, two, bit of burnish. Construct as before, so we want a dab of glue on those two, fold them to the inside, dab of glue, dab of glue, fold it up, making sure those little bits are on the inside and these bits are on the outside, and then come on, play nicely, go in there, and you go in there as well. I find it helps if you talk to your paper. Oh dear, crazy. And this is so small, I'm just simply going to take the whole piece of that off. Stick that down, make sure it's nice and level, stick that down. And same with that one. And turn it over. Put in my bone folder. Make sure those bits are down, that's it. And give it a good burnish. There we go. Okay, perfect. Right, now then, what you're going to do here is these two are going to fit together like this. That's why we have an outside edge on this one and an outside edge on this one, but no outside edges on this one, because these two stick together. So you simply, actually it's a bit of overkill, we didn't need tape on both of those, but never mind. We take off the tape And like I say, I usually run a bit of glue down it as well, just to make sure it wiggles, because we do like a bit of wiggle, don't we, girls? You see, I laugh at my own jokes. Crazy. So I have a little bit of glue on here. Like I say, we really only needed one piece of tape on one of these, but you know, we've got two, so we've got more than enough. And then basically we line these up, the bottom and all the way up. Press them together. Put your fingers inside, or however you want to do it. Use your bone folder or whatever, but really, really give them a good press together. There we go. Perfect. So you now have this. This holds your envelopes and your pens, and it's actually going to fit on the front of the pad, slightly smaller. Right, let's have a drop of hot chocolate if it's still, yuck, freezing. Right, okie dokie, let's get the stamp holder done. No, let's get this put inside first. So far we're going to take this out, so we don't need this at the moment. I'm going to separate these so you can see that's your pad holder, this is your envelope and pens holder, and this one is slightly stepped just for the, you know, aesthetic of it, so it looks nice. Okay, and we're going to add that to these, and then you'll see that it gives it some rigidity, gives it some form. So you want the back of the box, which is this smaller piece here. You don't want this part here. Okay, now I find this easiest by well, a number of ways. Sometimes I hold it up against my body so that I can just work on this part. Sometimes I'll turn it round and do it sideways, so we'll just see what works best. I'll start with it like this for the moment. See if I can prop that against the camera shaft. So taking the pad holder, you want to remove all the score tape. So there's the back, two back sides, one, two, and then you have one on the bottom as well, don't forget. Take that off, and then we're simply going to centre and line this up, but whatever you do, don't go over the fold line. That's why sometimes it's a lot easier to actually hold this up. So we're going to go down to the fold line, hold this base up. I'm aware that it's not completely stuck down yet. Do you know what? We need to make the bit that slides under there, because otherwise you won't be able to do this. Okay, forget that last bit. Just put your pad holder somewhere where it's not going to get damaged. So we're now going to work on, instead, we're going to work on the phone holder. Let me see if I can find it. Phone holder, there we go. Because you're going to need this first before we need the other part. Otherwise you won't be able to put your bases down. Right, okay. So now this is somewhat different. We make this somewhat differently. So you're going to start with a piece of cardstock, which is 5 inches down this piece here by 9.5 inches all the way along. Okay, and what you're going to do is, let me find my scoreboard and just quickly show you. You're going to put it on your scoreboard with the 9-inch going across the top like that, so lengthways, landscape, whatever they call it, and along one edge you're going to score 1/2 inch. Okay, then you're going to turn it so it's this way up, portrait way, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch, that's where my score line is here, and at 1 inch, that's my other score line. Then you're going to turn it again. Don't worry that we've cut this piece out, that will be there, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and at 1 inch, and you're also going to score it at 5¼ inches down here. Okay, and then you're going to turn it again, so there's score lines on all 4 sides, just that they're different, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and at 1 inch. So you'll have a piece of cardstock with a bit in here that I've cut out. You'll have a piece of cardstock which has, along the long edge, has score lines on one side at 1/2 inch, on the other side at 1/2 inch and 1 inch, and also in the middle at, what did I say, 5¼ inches. Yeah. Okay. Right, now as you can see from what I've done here, all of this needs to come out. We don't need any of it on both sides. So we're going to, let me get rid of this scoreboard because it's in the way. So we're going to cut here, and we're going to cut all the way along here. Because we don't need any of this. The only reason this piece has to be as wide as it is for the bottom flaps, which is a bit of a nuisance really, but actually I've tried doing it the other way where I just stick the flaps on, and it seems weaker, seems not to want to hold, you know, what you want it to hold. So this wastage is a nuisance, but there isn't really a better way to do it that I can find anyway. Right, that's not very straight, but we'll straighten it up later. So that's rubbish, we don't need that. Now at the bottom we're going to do our little trick again, in that we cut out these 3 no, we're not. First of all, we're going to stick our designer papers on. Right, now then, the designer papers you're going to need are 3 7/8 going up and down by 2 7/8 sideways, and you need 3 of those. But on the front, so this is the front, you need 1 of your front papers, 1 of your back papers. Okay, and then turn it over, and on the back you need another back paper. You don't need anything down here because it won't be seen, but everything else will be seen. So when you cut your 3 pieces of paper out, you need 2 backs but only 1 front, and you stick those down. Then you're going to need 3/8 of an inch by 2 7/8, and they go in these pieces here. So again, you're going to need 2 backs and 2 fronts. So on the front of your card, you'll have a back piece of paper, a front piece, and 2 back sections in here. And that's the front of your card, piece of card. And on the back, you'll have a back piece, nothing, and 2 fronts. But the 2 fronts you need to stick upside down. So as you're looking at it like this needs to be upside down, and this one needs to be upside down, because we're going to fold those up and you'll see them the right way up. Okay, so leave this piece here, don't burnish this yet. This one here we're going to fold in half, mounting, so it's like that, and don't burnish it, just fold it. Okay, now this front one here we're going to fold up, and you can burnish that right the way across, and the next one folds up, and you're going to burnish that right the way across as well. Okay, now that's going to form the little pocket. Now you can see what I mean about, if that was the other way up, if we'd stuck that the right way up, that would be upside down now. So that's why you have to stick it that way up. We're going to do exactly as we did before, in that we're going to cut out this one, cut off these at the bottom, get rid of all of those, and we're going to mitre this. Hope you can see what I'm doing here. And I am really sorry if the light is not good, it's just that it's now dark outside. There we go, clean that up a bit. So we're going to cut off the bottom completely. Cut off the side there and mitre it. 1, 2. Okay. Now just as we did before, but the only thing is this one's going so you can see it as opposed to round the back. So we're going to fold this up. The reason you've got the insides is here. And fold this up. Now this is a mistake I made. I didn't cut my paper long enough, but I don't want to waste it, I don't want to ruin it. So because the phone will be tucked in behind there, you can't really see it, but when you come to stick your one down, it will reach that line if you follow those guidelines. Okay, so don't worry about that. So again, dab of glue, dab of glue, and fold this up. I've done that incorrectly. I've cut off the bit that goes around here, so I shouldn't have cut this piece off. I'll fix that in a moment, but anyway, that's how that's going to be. So when you come to cut yours, don't cut these two pieces off, because they're what's needed to wrap around. I made a mistake there, but I'll fix that in a moment, so don't worry about that. The main bit is this bit. Okay, so now we need to bend this just slightly up. You don't need to bend it right the way, and you certainly don't need to burnish it. Okay, and we can use either wet glue or tape. I think I'll put a piece of tape on it. I'm really annoyed with myself when I make a mistake and I'm doing something on camera, especially when I've stuck all the papers down, but it's okay, it's not going to be the end of the world. I can fix it, and it will show you how to fix as well. Right, so I'm going to take this piece of tape off. Oh, by the way, right, okay. The piece of tape is on the back. So if this is the back, this is where the piece of tape is, okay? And there was I thinking it was all going smoothly. Now, if you go back to your main box and you want the front facing you, now this is going to, I mean, for you guys, you won't have this stuck down like I have. This will just be there. So now you want to put this on here, and you want to line this up so that it lines up along the side and it misses that fold line. Okay, that needs to fold inside your fold line here. Okay, you don't need to burnish it, finger is enough. So you have it like that. Now you can stick your base piece down, and it's hidden and held tightly underneath there. So let me pop some glue on here and finish this off. This is the third one of these I've made. You think I wouldn't make any mistakes now, wouldn't you? Easily done though, easily done. Pop that down there and give that a burnish so that it sticks. Right. There's the pin. Now you can see that effectively. Pop that out of the way, and that, make some room. You can see that effectively we have the back, which is going to stand like that. This is going to be the phone holder, which is going to stand up like that. It comes level with the top of the box when it's folded away. So it's going to stand up like that. And then we're going to have something that goes in front of it that acts as the easel holder. And all the boxes are going to go behind, and then we have more boxes for the front. So now back to the paper pad holder. If you hold this upright like this, you can very carefully fit this in here. In here. You can bring these side pieces round, which will help you line it up like that. So effectively it's like that. This doesn't stick because we didn't have any glue on there. We don't want that to stick. But that should then look like that. Okay, and then you can turn it round and use your, hold this up to take the weight, and use your bone folder to ensure that this goes down here and here. It's a bit fiddly, but you can do it as long as you sort of hold this together like this. like I say, I prop it up against my stomach. You can use a wall or something, whatever. Now what I need is a ruler. Where's my big steel rule? There. In order to get this here stuck down and here, but also along the bottom. Okay. Now you'll see that that keeps the back upright. And the more pieces we get in there, the more, you know, it will be like that. So now we need the envelope holder and the pen holder, which are joined together, and we're going to do the same with this. Take off all the backing. Here. 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 This one. This one. And the base. And we're going to centre this up best we can. Let me have a look at it. There should be about ½ inch either side, I guess. Push it right to the back. Try and get these squared up as best you can. Sometimes I don't want to play the game, but just get them squared up as best you can. And press it all down. And then it helps if you lie it down and use a straight edge tool in here and here. And here. So there we go, that's what we have so far. This is how it's going to sit, like this. And you're going to have your pad in here. You're going to have your envelopes in here and your pens in here. Okay? It all comes level with the top. Right, now then, and this is going to be the phone holder, which is going to sit up like that. So now we want to do the stamp pocket. And when we stick the stamp pocket on, we want to put it across this join, which gives that some more strength and stability. So the stamp pocket, again, is quite different, but is going to be very, very much the same as the notelet holder. So once you've done it once with the stamp pocket, you'll be able to do it with a notelet holder as well. Let me just check that I'm still filming. Yep. No. Yes? Hold on. Yes. Sorry about that. So let's move this out of the way for the moment. Put that together. Pop the lid on it just to hold it for a bit. Now, the stamp holder. There we go. So you're going to cut a piece of cardstock, which is 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and you're going to score at the following. So along both sides, so if you have this on your scoreboard, along both of these sides you're going to score at 1/2 inch and at 3/4, and then you turn it right round and do 1/2 inch and 3/4. Okay, then you turn it lengthways and at one end you're going to score it at 2.5 inches, and then at 2 3/4 inches. Sorry, that's this end. 2.5 inches and 2 3/4 inches, and then at the other end you're going to, so you can turn it around again, and at the other end you're going to score it at 2 inches and 2 1/4 inches, leaving you 3.5 inches in the middle. Okay, so that's the measurements if you haven't already seen them. Okay, just about making sure that we get this correct. So then your designer paper, you're going to need 2 pieces that are 2 3/8 by 1 7/8, and they are going to go on the 2.5 inch end, but they are going to go, how can I describe this? The 2.5 inch end is the hold on. The 2.5 inch end is the lid. Okay, so if you have it facing towards you and you've got this directional paper, you need to stick it upside down because it's going to flap over. But underneath here, so first of all you stick it down on the outside. Okay, then you turn it over, and before you stick the inside one down you need to attach a magnet if you're going to use a magnet. So you just pop a magnet underneath there and then stick your paper on top of it. Now, how else do I describe this? So on the front here there isn't a magnet, the magnet's underneath. So on the front this piece of paper is going to be upside down. Okay, then you turn it over to the back, you put a magnet, but you stick your design paper the right way up. Then you stick one of those small strips again the right way up. Then you need a piece of designer paper cut at 3 3/8 by 1 7/8, just one of them, and you put that on the right way up. Don't forget this is the inside still. And then at the bottom, again I've cut this the wrong size, so don't worry about that. Then at the bottom you need one of those thin strips but upside down, and another one of those pieces which is 1 7/8 by 1 7/8, and that needs to go upside down as well. So on the back, this is the back, you have a magnet, paper the right way up, paper the right way up, paper the right way up, paper upside down, paper upside down. Turn it over onto the front side. You need paper upside down, paper upside down, no paper here, no paper, we don't need any there. Then this strip of paper here needs to be upside down as well, and you don't stick this piece down yet because we're going to put a magnet underneath it, but we won't be able to do that until we've folded it up. Right, I hope that makes sense. Now we need to do some cutting. So we're going to, first of all, this top edge here we're going to cut out. So this is the one that has the longer piece here, and it has the magnet underneath it. We're going to cut out from this second score line, you know, the inside score line, right to the inside score line here, and we're going to cut that off of both sides. One and two. Get rid of those, so we don't need those. Right, now then, we're going to fold it up and start folding along the score lines. Okay, so let's get this scored, burnished. Now just be really careful here, because this is only 1/4 of an inch deep. It only needs to be 1/4 of an inch deep for your stamps. And anything more than that, if you make it 1/2 an inch, then the box won't close. So you just have to be really careful. Because although you've got a big gap on the back of the box, don't forget there's all this stuff to go on the front of the box yet, onto the front cover of it. Sometimes I just have to help it along with my bone folder a bit here. I'm so sorry about the shadows. I'm trying to stay in the light as best I can. There's a possibility that I may have to give up with the video and do the rest of it tomorrow, simply because the light has faded so much. There's not that much more to do actually, but there is a bit still to do. Okay, now we don't want these 2 side pieces, so we can take those out as well. So we can go down to the first of those score lines here and take this piece out completely. We'll do that both sides. Do that down to the first of those score lines. They're rubbish, we don't need those. The way this is going to fold up is that's going to be like that. That's the base there, and these are going to fold around. These little wings are going to fold around the back. So we can take that down. We can take out this, the bigger of the 2 squares here. That's this one. And this one. This is what I should have done on the other one. But hey ho, it's all a learning curve. Now when we fold this up, these little flaps, which we then need to cut up here and up here, are going to pop inside like that and like that. And this is going to fold all the way around and stick at the back. Okay, put that flap up there. Come on, flap, pop. Don't be a nuisance. There we go. Right, so I'm just going to put some tape on those 2 wings, and actually I'm going to cut that as a mitre because it's being a nuisance. This one here. There we go, and this one here. I'm just going to cut it as a mitre on this top edge, just because it's being a nuisance. Right, so we need some tape. Don't forget this is the inside. going to fold that up and around like that, squaring off those corners the best we can, making sure it looks really nice and neat like that. Okay, use something solid to put inside there that we can press down with. Kind of don't go too harshly, otherwise you end up ripping it. Okay, that's nice and solid, and you can see that when you have it open, it's all the right way up, even though it's upside down when we made it, and when we close it, it's still the right way up. Right, now then, we have a magnet under here, so let's stick the pair of the magnet down. I mean, you don't have to use magnets, you know, they will stay closed if you want to. It's just that I quite like to use them. So let's get another magnet off. Put this over a magnet as we did before. There we go. And when we close the box, it should stick on. Make sure that's level. Should stick on. It's only a 1/4 inch gusset, so you can give it a good press. It won't do any harm. Just very carefully take it off. And make sure it clears it. There we go. Like that, and then you have your piece of paper that we're going to stick over the top of it. So we're going to take this piece off. There we go. Stick down. Some wet glue. Cover that magnet up and put it on the right way up, like that. And that should close on there nicely. Very cute. Yeah, perfect. And now all we need to do is stick this onto here. And like I say, because that opens like this, we need to make sure that this avoids it. So we're going to use this to stick here to cover this, and that will help to reinforce this as well. Okay, so let's keep that out of the way for the moment. I'm going to use wet glue here simply because it's easier, and you just need to put wet glue or tape on the back. And a bit on the bottom. And then you just simply stick it down, covering the gap. Hold it there till it sticks. Bit of a burnish. And then, to be honest, you just need to hold it there. Right, folks, that's the end of the back of the box. We need to do the front of the box, and the light's so bad at the moment that I think probably it will be better if I do that tomorrow and post it tomorrow. So I'm sorry that this has turned into a two-part tutorial. I thought it would be a one-part, but it isn't. So hopefully I will see you for the rest of the tutorial tomorrow. Take care now. Bye.